we will do it in the year now because we are just in January. February is the exam. Let's hope that we can get through this one and finish it off. In writing, what you need to be, you remember there is something on the skills, but I will do it in the next lesson. It's all about the people skills. That means the people skills means you must understand what the other person wants, and you must write it in a way that the other person can understand what you write.
Right.
So you have to look at who is asking from you. If it's a financial person, you probably can use little bit of financial jargon. But if it is non-financial, you should be using as much as possible simple language.
Yeah.
Then the other parties as much as possible, because the examiner, even last examiner's report, I think she mentioned it, not the quantity, but it is the quality that matters. So it can be little, but good quality, the good content of it, what matters the most. So that's another thing. So try to keep it short paragraphs, try to keep short sentences and put it up, not necessarily in the bullet form, but essay form, but in short sentences, short paragraphs.
Right. Yeah.
So next session, we will discuss some of those skills, the 4 levels of skills, what they are expecting: technical, business, leadership, and people skills.
People skills.
Yes, we will do a little bit on that area. So coming back today, remember we started on a question where they were doing that film called, already it was in the pipeline according to the pre-scene, the dinosaur crush tree or something like that. The first part of the mock was all about, they had given this special effects to outsource to another party, which is a very big component, 80 million of the film. And just 2 months before the film was to be launched, when they saw the special effects are very horrible, and they thought they may not be able to, they should not launch the film. So the risk, but the first part of the question was asking about all the risks that they will have to undergo if they launch the film on that particular due date. The next question, next section, next 45 minutes was all about they had to spend additional money. Still the film was not up to the quality. And finally, what they thought was, if they go ahead, they will have to make certain losses. So the question was, if they were going to make losses, should it be disclosed? That was the question. Right. And also about the project management. So I would like you to open up your mind. Not necessarily you have to go on the lines what I spoke, but you can write. But the technical area, now for example, whether we should disclose in the accounts about the loss for the year ending February 17, we need to know, because it's a future loss, we don't need to make a provision, number one. Right? Because it's a future loss. But because it is significant, because it is something material that can have an impact on the shareholders' decisions, it must be disclosed by way of a note. Okay. So you have to take the IAS 37, the provisions, contingent assets and contingent liabilities, and say, as per that, we don't need to make a provision because it's not a present obligation, it's a future loss. However, the accounting statements, the financial statements, the purpose or the objective of the financial statement is to provide information for users of the financial statements to make economic decisions. So in the light, the losses are going to be significant. If the word significant was not there, you don't need to worry. But when the losses are going to be significant, that fact must be disclosed. Right. So that's the second part. I think in one of the parts, I can't remember, either in the first part, on the first section or the second section, one of the things was, I think in the first section, what lessons can we learn out of it? So it was poor project management. They probably did
Right.
not have a steering committee monitoring the film. So no proper ownership, no proper coordination. So those were the lessons that we could have learned.
Right.
So today I have just sent you the third mock. So as I said, normally 45 minutes mock, 15 minutes should be used to good reading and to put out your plan, your notes and all that. So next lesson I will do a little bit of a exam planning techniques in advance for you to just to get the idea. So
Okay.
today it's another 45 minutes. This is the third section of the first 3-hour mock.
Okay.
Right? So you submitted the report requested by Isabella that evening. The next day she asked you to accompany her for a meeting with Anton Chan. Right? So the second report was all about accounting disclosures and all that. And after submitting, your finance director Isabella says, "Hey Veena, come, we'll go for a meeting with Anton Chan. Anton Chan is our distribution director. So he is the man who has to ultimately distribute the film. So this film can go all over the world. How it is being distributed, all that will need to be worked out." So Anton Chan at this meeting says, "I'm still disappointed with special effects, modifications done by Jonathan's, and I believe film if screened as it will be a flop. This is our first 4D film and I cannot afford a failure." So, after spending extra 16 million, all that with the other company called B-Connect, with the company called Jonathan's, he is still not happy with the special effects.
Yeah.
And he says because it's going to be the first 4D film, and he says we cannot afford a failure. Howell is one of the non-executive directors in the board, so you have to remember some of these names. If you don't remember, you can always go to the pre-scene in the exam, but the idea is not to go too much to the pre-scene because you'll be wasting your precious time.
Time.
Howard tells
Yeah.
me that he could get one of his contacts, Plate, to do special effects of high quality, which will meet our expectations. I have brought alone a costing based on the basis of using Plate. So Anton Chan is now thinking of bringing a new special effects party called Plate, and he has brought a costing. We need to keep cost to 550 million in order to break even. Right? I'm hoping that two of you will work with production staff to reduce the cost to meet the target. Isabella
Right.
is turning to you, that is you are the finance manager, and Isabella is now telling, "Hey Veena, please draft a paper to Anton that sets the challenges associated with this proposed target costing exercise and indicating how the production team would be expected to contribute to it." Right?
Okay.
So Isabella, as usual, they pass the whole thing on you and says, "Hey, Anton is talking about something called target costing," and write a report to him saying what are the challenges that you will face or rather we will face and how the production team can expect to cooperate with this one. Because Anton Chan is telling two of you will work with production staff to reduce the cost.
Okay.
And immediately Anton says, "I'm informed by DCT production team that they are reluctant to work with finance because they frequently complain that finance holds them back by complaining about the cost of this exciting 4D venture that they are producing. I think they may be unhappy to work alongside finance." So this is typical scenario you can face it in a company because the finance people are always talking about costing, cost overruns, budget overruns. The others don't like it. Others don't like it.
Yeah.
So those people have told Anton, we don't want to work with the finance. Now again, Isabella is turning to you. Please address Anton's concern about the attitude of the production team to the target cost exercise in your paper. So now you can see the
Okay.
two tasks what we have got. Number one task is all to talk about the challenge associated with target costing. Second one is all about the target costing exercise in your paper.
Yeah.
So here we have got the revised costing. So after doing all the things, this is what the revised costing has come to. So story
Okay.
write 35, screenplay 18, producers fees 19, directors fees 14, actors fees 48, production staff and production cost 65, special visual effects 136. You remember original figure was 80 and it went
Yeah.
up by another 16 million doing with the Jonathans. So it came to
Jonathan's,
96.
yeah.
So that is coming from the earlier two sections. And now these people are asking another 40 million additional. That is how with the 136 is made up of.
Yeah.
And music 15, TV advertising 90, newspaper 40, radio 11, all that. Total is 571.
Right.
What is your target? To reduce it to 550.
Okay.
That is your target, right? So you are supposed to tell the board of directors, the Anton, Isabella, and everyone, what are the challenges that we face in trying to reduce it, the revised 571 to 550, and how you can make it true, right? Because at
Right.
times chances the film is not good with after spending that amount of money. He is thinking of bringing this Plate people, right? And Plate people are going to ask some money, and with all that money, it is going to cost you 571. But even to make a break even, not to make a profit, the cost should be 550.
Right.
So this is your task now. This is your target. So before I move into this question, let's talk a little bit about target costing, Veena. What is target
Right.
costing? What do you know about target costing? Any ideas you have?
Yeah, basically, company setting cost which is covering their target profit as well.
Yeah, basically, this is now there are two ways of doing pricing, or rather about three or four ways. One is where we look at the cost, add up a markup, and do the pricing.
Yeah.
You look at the cost and do a add up, a markup, and do the pricing. So that is what we call cost plus pricing. It can be on the total cost we can do a markup, or we can do on the marginal cost in a markup. But that's what we call total cost, the cost plus pricing method. That can be done in a scenario where you can set your own price. In other words, where there's not too much of competition, where you can decide your pricing. You can say cost is 100 and I want a markup of 20% on cost and my price is 120.
Right. Yeah.
But if your product is such a competitive product, there are other competitors selling the same product. You can't just set up at 120 and wait when the others are selling at 115 or 105. You can't set up your price at 120 and wait. No one is going to buy your product.
Yes.
In that case, you have to make a decision because you know the price you cannot increase beyond 105 because your competitor is selling at 105. So you have to decide how much profit margin you want when you sell it at 105. So maybe you will think of you want a profit of $20, for example. So 105 minus 20, 85 should be your target cost.
Right. Yeah.
That is what the target costing is all about. So if your cost at the moment, the revised cost or the forecasted cost is 90, then somehow you have to reduce it to 85. If not, you will not launch the product. Simply that is target
Right.
costing. So it is where the market is competitive. The market has already set the price. You can't set up a price. Only thing what you can do is you have to work out on your margin and work backwards and set your cost and work it on that cost. So there are two
Right.
tools what we use if the say for example our revised cost is 90 and if the target cost is 85, we need to reduce it by $5, for example. In that case, what we have to do is we have to do a kind of a tool what we call value analysis.
Okay.
Value analysis. What is that? That is basically you go into each component of that product. Now I'm not talking about the film, but it applies to the film also. It will go into each component of the product and see whether we can reduce, remove or eliminate that component without compromising the quality of the product, without compromising the usefulness of the product to the ultimate consumer.
Right.
So I remember long time back, I was working in a company where my managing director told me the company was making huge losses. We were manufacturing some shirts to the USA market, but we were making big losses at that particular time. So he told me, you better go to the factory, sit there and see what they are spending. Can you see where you can reduce the cost without compromising the quality of the product, without compromising the usefulness of the product? So I just went and sat and waited and waited and waited. Then I observed few things what they were doing. They were putting about 6 buttons on the shirt. So I asked one of those people, can't we reduce the number of buttons what people put by increasing the space between the 2 buttons? Can't we make it 5? Right? And they were putting about 15 or 16 the pins to make the packaging. I asked them, can't we reduce it? So like that, we went into various little details of the product because the person who is going to buy the shirt is not going to count the number of buttons. So long as his body is closed, it's all right. He's not going to count the number of pins. So if you can do differently, reducing those things, you save cost.
Yes.
And that is what we call value analysis. If you remember a long time back when we had these matchboxes, in both sides the chemical was pasted, so you can strike the match on either side of the matchbox. Someone told, why do you want it in both sides? Because you are not going to strike it on both sides. You need only one side, the chemical, to strike the match. So they reduced it. Rather than having it in 2 sides, they reduced one side to one side. What is the saving of the chemical cost? 50%.
Yeah.
Right? And there was nothing lost in the process because everyone want to strike a match to give light or whatever it may be. And it can be done without too much of a botheration. Who is going to ask you a question, why not both sides? That's what we call value analysis. That is to look at the components of the product and to see. Then the other one is what we call the functional analysis. What is functional analysis? You look at the organization that is producing whatever the product, look at each function and see whether we can do away with some of these functions, reduce the cost of those functions and still produce the product without compromising the quality or the usefulness of the product. Right. And that is why we see nowadays the old, beautiful stenographers are no longer there. Right? Because now almost everyone do their own communication, emails, all that kind of a thing, and they have almost removed that part of the function from the companies.
Okay. Yeah.
So like that, there are many areas, the old postal department, the postal section, inward mail, outward mail is completely gone because, not completely gone, I mean almost gone to a great extent because almost our communication is now with email. So we don't get too many letters and to have a big postal inward department to sort out mails and to send it to various departments, etc., etc.
Right.
Manual cash book writing time is gone, so you don't need that kind of people because the moment you enter the voucher, everything will be done through the computer. So you don't need big people to do bank reconciliations. So all those functions have now been completely eliminated. Ultimate impact is your cost will get reduced. So the two tools what we use is the value analysis and functional analysis to reach the target cost.
Right.
just a little bit of a brief about the target costing, just to give you a kind of a refresher on that area. Now, let's look at this question, right? So, we need to keep it to 550. What is our present cost? 571. So, if you really look at in terms of percentage reduction, we have to reduce from 571 to 550. That's about 21.
20%.
Yeah, 21. We need to in absolute dollars, $21 $21 million we have to reduce it from a figure of 571, right? 571. So if you look at it as a percentage, it's about 21 over 571. So this kind of a small calculation, you can do it. You will be expected to do it. So it's about 3.6% of the total cost that need to be reduced.
Okay.
So if you really look at from a macro point of view, 3.6% from a 571 may not be that much of a huge challenge.
Okay. Yeah.
3.6%. It's about, less than 4%. It's not a huge challenge, but you have a challenge. Can you think what this challenge is, Veena? Look at this cost. Look at this cost. When you take overall, it's about 3.6% reduction you are looking at.
Right.
But where is the challenge for you? Where is the challenge for you? If you imagine that you have to remember what happened. The film was produced, almost ready for screening. Special effects are bad. Then what you thought was, we will go with Jonathan's. Jonathan said, okay, spend another 20%. We will be able to redo. It was redone, but Anton Chan is still not happy. And Anton Chan now says, no, I don't want to take the risk. I will go to Plate, get it done again and do it.
Yeah, so the challenge might be, what if after spending such amount again, the film is not successful?
Yes, that is that's a risk again you might have it. But here the question is not on that area. This is all about the challenge is about the costing now. I agree with you, but that's not your challenge. That is not what your Isabella is asking about. Anton is telling after the revised costing, it is going to be 571. But we can't afford 571. We have to put it down to 550.
Okay.
Where is the problem? A little clue. The film is already done. If it was not done, it's a different story.
Okay.
The film is already done. Almost everything done. Look at the items here. Look at the items here. Even though we thought it is 3.6% of the total, story right already expensed. Correct?
Right, yeah.
Screenplay already expensed. Producer's fee already expensed.
Right.
Already spent. So even though we thought 3.6% of the total, where can we say? Actors' fees incurred. Production and post-production incurred. Only area we have is in the visual effects.
Yeah.
80 plus 16 gone, another 40 million we are thinking now. Only area we can reduce is only 40%.
Special effects. Yeah.
Isn't it? 40 million.
Right.
Can you see?
Right.
Now you can see it's a different story. Right? It's not a 3.6% that you are going to look at. Right? And probably you can reduce something. Music already gone. You remember in the pre-scene, they say out of advertising, 90% is done pre-production stage or before the screening.
Before production stage, yeah.
Yeah, before the screening. Because after screening, you don't need too much of advertising. After screening, it is the people who talks about the film, people who will promote the film. If the film is good, they will come and say, Veena, that's a super film. Why don't you go and see the film? But if the film is horrible, they will say, Veena, don't go. That's a horrible film.
Right. Yeah.
So you can see the two areas that you may have is on the special effects, there's a 40 million which you want to spend on Platin, and on the advertising 90, 40, 11, 20 and 28, maybe about 10% of that total may be available.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is what you have to pick up smartly from the question.
Right.
Right? So you have to really get into that mood, really get into that scenario. If you think this as an exam, and if you think it's a 3.6%, there is no challenge, there is no big challenge. So you can see, even though on the total cost it's about a 3.6% we are looking at, but very unlikely there is any scope for saving anything other than on special visual effects. The extra we are going to spend 40 million, and maybe a 10% of part of 10% which we spent on advertising after screening, because 90% of
Right.
advertising cost is incurred before the screening.
Yes.
So this is what probably you want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And you can always, if you want, you can just quickly have a look at the pre-scene cost of the film they had given on that one weekend in Moscow or something like that, and you can compare and see. Now that you can memorize it, so you might want to go into that film in the pre-scene and look at and see. Most of the costs are in line with the typical film of 1 week in Moscow. So there is not too much of excess cost in any areas, except because of the problems that is on the special effect that we have incurred. The original budget was 80, another 16 incurred, and we are going to incur 40 million.
Right. Yeah.
And on this film, this is the film industry probably will have to go on target costing, because if the film is overpriced, the people who want to buy the film in other part of the world may not buy the film, because there may be similar films that is coming up.
Right.
So the target costing may be applied in the film industry. So what we have to do is we can ask the advertising budget of the Be Connected to be reduced slightly to get something out of it. But the big thing need to be done to negotiate with Platin, maybe with the assistance of Howell. Howell, you remember, is a person who is in the film industry, highly respected man. So maybe with his influence, if he can get to reduce the special visual effects of what they are going to spend, may be the way for us to go in.
Right. Yeah.
So this is what you should be looking in on trying to answer a question like that. So all the time there have been questions on target costing on this area. So generally now in a film industry, the target costing either can be on a just like a film like what we have already done. Then the other one is the always remember target costing apply for the life cycle cost. Now you remember any product goes through 4 stages of the life cycle. Introductory, the growth, the maturity and the decline. Generally during the introductory stage, the costs are very high, because you have to promote, you have to advertise, you have to spend a lot on research, everything. During the introductory stage, the cost per unit or the costs are very high. Right? Then we go to the growth stage. Generally at the growth stage, the cost will come down in a normal manufacturing industry, because the reason being you have economies of scale coming up. Right, you produce in mass scale, you can get bulk discounts, etc. And also the learning curve, the people know how to work very fast on the product, the learning curve will apply.
Right.
Then the third stage is what we call this, so that during that stage, the cost per unit will come down. Third stage, the stability stage, what do you think is the cost per unit? Will it come down? Will it go up? What happens?
Um, the cost might remain
Cost
constant.
might remain same, yeah, right, because it's stable,
Yeah,
right?
it's
No
stable.
more,
Yeah.
learn it, no more economies of scale because it's stable now. So the cost might
Right.
remain at that level.
Perfect. Right.
What will happen during the decline stages?
The cost might reduce, or the company would want to sell the product to some other company
Yeah,
to sell in the market.
yeah, yeah. What will happen to the cost? Yeah, selling price, yeah, it can be, but what will happen to the cost? Generally, if you look at a product in the decline stage, what will happen to the cost?
The cost would remain the same, but then the company would be suffering some losses.
Yeah, it can happen. It can be something like this. The cost will in fact go up most of the time, because by the time you come to the decline stage, the machines are old, right? Machines are old and all that, and probably to get rid of the product, you might want to advertise or do something. And
Yeah.
also the people
Yeah.
are bored of producing the same product. They are waiting for the new product. So they are not efficient as what they were in the growth stage. So the cost per labor unit may go up, and generally the cost will go up.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? And therefore, when we are looking on target costing on a manufactured product, we look at not the cost at the introductory stage, not the cost at the growth stage. We look at the total average cost through the life cycle.
Yeah.
Because if you try to set the price on the introductory cost is very high. But when you take the average introductory high, at the growth stage low, stability low, and again on the decline high, taking the average when you look at the target cost, that is your real cost. Now if you look
Yeah.
at a film also, the film also goes through, if you remember in the pre-scene, the film can bring you revenue for many years, right?
Yeah.
Because when it is initially launched, it will be a box office hit. But after that, you can sell DVDs. You can give license rights for the airlines to put it on this thing. You can give it to the satellite TV stations, all that. So you make the money all over
Yeah.
a period. So what you have to consider, the
Sorry.
pricing when you are considering, you have to consider the entire life cycle of the film
Right.
and look at your total revenue, look at what do you want as a target profit, and then work on the target cost. So it's not part of
Right.
this question, but in a new film what they are going to produce, they might ask if you are going to apply the target costing concept, how it should be applied.
Okay.
So you must know how to apply it. They have to apply on the entire film revenue. It's not only the box office hit things, it's on the DVDs, on every channel, downloading through the website, all that should be considered and worked through.
Okay.
So now what we have to say is, okay, yes, it's all right. The what we have to look at is, so where do we need the cooperation of the production team? Now that's the next challenge. Where do we need? If you and finance people are going to work it through this target costing exercise, the challenge what we are facing is to see whether we can cut down on the balance remain in advertising, and also to see whether we can negotiate with Platin on the special visual effects. Because
Right.
those are the
Yeah.
only two areas we can cut down. All the others are almost incurred. I mean, in another way, we can say they are sunk costs.
Sunk cost. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, where can we get the production? You remember the question? Your lady Isabella is turning to you and say, set the chain challenges. So we know the challenges that is associated, right? Even though it
Right.
is a totally of treatment. Now sometimes the people might talk like that. Hey, Veena, what is this you're talking? It's only a 3.6% reduction you're looking. In a 571 million, can't you get 3.6 million? The people
Right.
will talk like that. But you have to say it's not on 571 3.6, almost 90% of the costs are already incurred, finished. we have only 2 items left over. One is the special effects 40 million. Already they are again 96 million gone, right? And maybe on the other one so much. That's all.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So now what do you expect? If you were told this task, what do you expect from your production team? That is the task. How the production team would be expected to contribute to it. So what will you expect from the production team? You will
More
expect
of coordination.
Yeah, more of coordination, more of a negotiation with Plate,
Transparency.
isn't it?
Yeah.
More of a
Yeah.
negotiation with Plate, and maybe because Anton Chinese thinker are spending 40 million, can't we come down on the special effects because already we have spent 96? So try to compromise without compromising on the quality, right? Do a value
Right.
analysis of the extra 40 million what we are going to spend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Like the extra 40 million we are going to spend, do a value analysis and see whether without compromising the expected quality of the film, without compromising the viewer satisfaction, whether we can reduce the tasks that need to be given to Clarity.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So because you can't do it because you're a finance person, you need the support of the production team.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And also maybe with the advertising, because you can say already maybe we have incurred 90% of advertising, so we can work out this total cost that we have here. Newspaper, TV 90, radio 40, 30, 130, 141, 161, 189, 204 million. 204 million is there. Of that, can we save, because already maybe 90% incurred, but can we save something out of the balance 10% to be incurred?
Yeah.
So again, maybe a value analysis or a functional analysis of each advertising component, right? And see whether
Right.
we can reduce it. Maybe that we are not going to reduce TV advertising. Maybe we can reduce on the newspaper totally or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
This is what we will expect. This is what we will expect. This is what the production team's cooperation you require, because otherwise you can't do it.
Right.
So that's my answer for the first part of it. So you can write nicely on that first part, first task. Now what is the second task? Second task is Anton Chan says, look here, these fellows are not prepared to cooperate with you all, right? And with the finance division, because they are saying that, always they are complaining about the cost of this exciting 4D venture. And so Isabella is saying, talk about the address in your report about the attitude of the production team to the target costing exercise in your paper. So, in an organization, we all work, the finance, HR, production, marketing, everyone work. What is an organization? To achieve one common objective.
Common goal. Yeah.
Common objective. So, can we accept this kind of attitude from a section of the people?
No.
What is their complaint? Their complaint is finance is holding them on cost. Because what they believe is it's a 4-day film, it's an exciting venture, and they should be allowed to spend any amount of money just like what they want. That is their attitude. This is what you can see from that question.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to address the attitude. So, no organization should tolerate this kind of scenario, because this is coming from one of the top people, and then he's saying that you find the production people are not prepared to work with you all. So we have to simply say it is simply unacceptable for any part of the organization employees to refuse to work with any other colleague regardless of the perception.
Yeah.
You can have a different perception, I can have a different perception, but we must work for the common goal, common objective of the organization.
Yeah.
Right? And that is ultimately to make a profit, to maximize the
Yes.
shareholder wealth.
Profit.
So
Yeah.
any division between two organizations such as production and finance will only lead to inefficiencies, will lead to incomplete resolution of problems, and also the communication with external shareholders can get compromised by such conflicting messages and attitudes.
Right.
In a situation like this is a situation where everyone must cooperate and coordinate.
Yeah.
It's not a situation where, some person can take a stand, because this is a crisis situation. Even in normal situations, the people in an organization must coordinate, communicate, and work with cooperation. So when you
Right.
don't work like that, there will be lots of messages going to the external third parties, including to the media, giving some very conflicting messages.
Yeah.
So simply what we have to say is, you have to tell the production team should be told in no uncertain terms that their job is to make a film which can be sold at a profit and which will maximize the shareholder wealth.
Yeah.
So they must be told very clearly, their job is to produce films which can be sold at a profit and which will maximize shareholder wealth. They are not there to do research and to experiment and to do exciting ventures.
Okay.
This is what most of the companies, most of these marketing people, most of these people, they think they are there to do some exciting thing. Exciting things are not going to bring shareholder wealth. Exciting things are not going to make company prosper, right? What we have to do is, our business is to make profits. So to make profits, we must make films that is profitable,
Yeah.
right? So we are not there to provide our production people. So you can always use this language, we, our company, because you are part of the company. So we can say we
Yeah.
are not there, we do not exist to provide our production people with exciting environments where they can develop exciting ventures and make losses.
Yeah.
Right? So the production team should regard finance as a facilitator. You remember the value chain? In the value chain, there are supporting activities, and one of the supporting activities is what we call infrastructure, the finance.
Right.
So that also you can bring it here if you want it. The finance is in the value chain, is the facilitator, the infrastructure, and therefore the finance people should be regarded as a facilitator, and whenever they talk about cost and cost overruns, it must be taken very positively as positive, constructive criticisms and to make the right decisions.
Right.
Right? So that is what we should be talking about. Because it will not be in the finance's interest to reject a commercially profitable film. Right? Finance
Yeah.
will not reject a commercially profitable film. But however, finance, being finance, should be the people to show the cost overruns, because the project, if you remember, in a film, it's a project, there are three main attributes. One is to ensure that we manage the budget.
Yeah.
Second one, to ensure that we deliver on the due date.
Yeah.
Third one, that to ensure that we produce a quality film.
Yeah.
Quality, delivery date, and the cost are the three attributes of project management. And you see in
Yep.
this film, we have failed in all 3 areas. We failed in quality because the special effects are not
Okay.
properly coordinated. Now we are overspending on the cost, and we have a problem. We may not be able to deliver on the due delivery date.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff which you can mention on this kind of a thing. But having said that one, although you are being part of the finance, you must be very balanced in your approach. You must also, the finance also should work along as a team with the production team, and there may be a need to improve the communication style and pattern of finance division.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
sometimes the finance people are very blunt. They just say the cost overruns this, that, and the other. They don't appreciate the hard work that has gone behind the screen to produce a film. They might only look at the figures and think about the cost overrun. So there's always a need to to uh, to improve the communication style and pattern of the finance division.
Okay.
So ideally, Isabella should address this matter with the finance division staff, and so that they will coordinate, communicate, and cooperate in a helpful and a constructive manner. And if for any reasons, if they have to reject any proposal or any cost overruns, they should do with clarified details in order
Right.
to motivate the production team to
Okay.
reduce the cost. So there has to be a very, very commercial logic whenever we are communicating in the future.
Yeah.
So, we have to, we in the finance, we can't just be bosses sitting, because the people who are doing the film shooting, they are the people who have to go to various different locations, suffer, they have to get caught to the rain, they have to get caught to the sun, they have to stay in the forest, all that kind of a thing. We can't sit in the finance division and just, make the paperwork. We must appreciate the things what they do. So we must communicate it in such a way that the people will accept that it is something very positive that is coming out of the finance.
Yeah.
So this is basically my answer for this question.
Okay.
So if we were to summarize this whole thing, we started with the target costing. You don't need to go too much into the target costing principles and all that, maybe one line, and then move straight away into the scenario, because most of the time the examiner says that we go and explain a lot about target costing. That is not the way to go forward. We need to know what is target costing and apply for the present particular scenario, not to talk all about the target costing. Now in this question, even I will not talk about the life cycle target costing. It's not relevant. But if it was a
Right.
question, it was about a new film that they are going to do, which is not yet even started, and the cost they want to do is 571, and the cost they want to do it is 550, but it is going to be 571. There, it will be a different scenario.
Yeah.
Because then the production has not started, so we can look at the total revenue and total profit margin we want, look at the total cost over the life cycle, and then probably maybe we can even apply the 3.6% all over entire area, because we are not spent anything. So it all depends on the question. So we have to be very, very specific the answer to the question.
Yeah.
So now, if you start this scenario, you're going to write something to Anton about this whole thing, because I think if you please after to Anton, so your report will be Anton, probably with a copy to Isabella, right? And you probably be part of the company. Will be somewhat disappointed with the quality of the film that is coming even after spending extra 16 million. And you might want to congratulate our Anton Chan for having brought Howell into the scene and finding these Plate people who can do it, the special effects. But we need to be mindful not to make a profit, but to break even, we need to reduce the cost by 21 million. Bulk of the costs are already spent, and then you go down on that area and say how the production team can cooperate in reducing the two areas of cost. One on the special effects to the value analysis. Second one on the advertising, maybe through functional analysis.
Right.
Finally, you will talk about the thing. You will say, I'm sorry that the production team and finance department is not seen eye to eye, but however, it is unacceptable for any part of the organization to decide not to cooperate with the other part of the organization, because the organization is one unit working for one objective. Finance is a facilitator as per the value chain, etc. And then you have to say the way to cooperate is also to finance to improve the communication and production to accept the finance as a facilitator.
Right.
You might want even to take a special initiative here and to say that I will, with Isabella, I will speak to the finance division and will improve the communication and will assure that in future finance division will work in a much more positive manner with the production people, something like that. Ultimately, the person who is reading the report must get the feeling that whatever the burden that he had is now relieved, because Veena has taken the scenario and Veena will do the needful without too much of a problem. Because otherwise what happens is that, people will think, what is this, now he's under worry, Anton Chan. So if you're also going to add more worry to him, saying that, they must cooperate or that kind of a thing, finally it may not work out. You must say, yes, we agree, but I will do my part. I will see that the finance communication is improved. Because you are a SIMA person, you know how to do that one. You will say, I will speak to the finance team along with Isabella and improve communication, so you can assure that production department will not have any more problems working with the finance
team. Right.
Now that kind of answer, I'm sure, is going to carry the marks that is there for the whole thing.
Okay.
So what I will think is, for you to now, you have got 3 marks in your hand. One, I have already given you an answer. Second and third are there for 45 minutes. Start writing answers. Don't worry about the quantity, but worry about the quality of the report, and just write, because sometimes it can be even half a page. It's all right, but try to write something beautiful, something that is very catching for the reader.
Okay.
So you start doing that one. I think it should be all right. How is your calendar for this week, Veena?
This week, like Saturday, I can do morning hours, or Sunday, whatever time suits you.
Sunday. Yeah, morning, what time is okay on Saturday?
Next Saturday, like 11 is fine again.
11. Shall we do Saturday 11 o'clock? Yeah.
Yeah, so 7th of
7 o'clock.
Saturday 11. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Kumar, just to tell you that the last time we did mocks, we have not done the one which was on the second, we have not done the second mock.
All right, okay. That is on the accounting disclosures and all that.
Yes, we haven't discussed it. It was we just did the overview of it, but did not go in deeper.
So yeah, remind me. I will do that one. I will put a note on here. We will do that one on the next time.
Right. So what I'll do is I'll start writing the answer for number 1 and number 3, and I'll submit to you by like.
Number 2, you keep it. We will discuss it on number 2. Because number 2, I think, has some disclosure requirements, all that. So we will talk about that one on the 7th. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, because it's a bit technical. Obviously, I would want your advice.
A lot of technical area. We will do that. Don't worry. I will work with you on Saturday on that one.
Okay, that's fine then. Yeah.
Right. So 11 o'clock we will meet on Saturday, Veena.
Next Saturday. All right. Okay, Kumar.
Okay. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. Take care. Bye. Bye.